Cheat Code. Hey everyone, welcome to Pickleball Cheat Code, the show for competitive pickleball players who want to level up their game. We focus on advanced strategies for experienced players, stuff only the pros really know. I'm Brody Smith. I'm a 5.5 level player and coach, and I'm here with our first guest, a very special guest, the one and only Allyce Jones.
Hello, guys.
Allyce is a carbon athlete, a top player in the nation, and a mom of three. So there's a lot to talk about here. At the end of the episode, we're going to be discussing Allyce's pickleball family and the future generation of pickleball to come, which will be really exciting. So stick around for that. Also, we want to include you in on the show. Leave us a voicemail with a question you want answered at memo.fm/PCC. We will listen to all these and break them down in an upcoming episode. So if you want any questions answered, give us a call, leave us a voicemail. All right, let's go.
Okay.
All right, let's get started. Allyce, how you doing today? How's life?
Good, really good. Just got home from Atlanta PPA.
How'd that go? Give me the breakdown.
It was good. We played with a new ball, the Lifetime ball.
I've been hearing some controversy around the Lifetime ball. Curious on your thoughts there.
I'm pro for the Lifetime ball because I'm also a Lifetime employee here in Utah. And the venue there, I know we get that Peachtree venue for free. So it's like kind of like Lifetime deserves a little bit of a kickback.
Nice.
So I think it's fine to play with. It just plays faster. So the game's a little different.
Love it. Cool. Well, let's dive into things. So for the people that don't know and the people that do know, you're a defensive queen. You're known as the Mighty Mouse out there in the courts for several reasons. One, for how scrappy you are, how defensive you are. For my main question to get the ball rolling here is, what makes you so great at defense? How did you get that niche? How did you make that such a big part of your game? Between nature versus nurture, is this something that you drilled on constantly, or is this something that came natural to you early on?
It does help with my background of being a volleyball libero, because my job was to dig everything that came hard at me. That was my main job in that past sport life. But I do drill it at home. So I do practice like giving people high balls and playing defense and working my way to the kitchen. So it's definitely something that needs to be drilled too. But my volleyball experience of being able to read where people are hitting definitely helps out.
What are some that's interesting, because I figured the volleyball part of getting low, getting your legs set, and getting in a squat position was the obvious translation to having that good defense. But I never realized the point of you reading what the opponent is doing. What are some things that you're looking for during a match that help you time it right? Because you're diving over fences, and it's not luck. Like, you're doing it from reading the opponent, like you said. So what are some things that you're looking for between body language and paddle positioning?
First thing, I'm looking at where their hips are open to, because like if their hips are opened, most likely they're going to go like volleyball. Hitters' hips were open to where they're going to finish.
Yep.
And so that's what I look at first. And then my second is the paddle. Like, are they dropping the paddle to drop shot, or are they keeping it high to put power? So that's my second thing I'm looking at. Okay.
And yeah, that makes sense. And then you're staying low before you hit it. Some people, they have their split step at a certain point in time. For example, when you're transitioning into the kitchen, people split step right when the ball crosses the net. That's something that Tanner said in a previous episode. When are you getting low, and when are you getting your body prepped? And, because I always talked about this teeter-totter reference too, of when the ball's high, you need to be low. How does that work for you, and how do you think about that as you're transitioning to the kitchen line?
For me, it is right before they make contact is when I split step. So I've already made my position based off of where they look like they're hitting the ball. So I've already lined up, but now I split step right before, and that's the same thing with volleyball. Like, before the hitter would connect with the ball, I'd split step. So then your fast twitch muscles are activated, and then you can make your move.
So it's kind of one fluid motion. It's a split step, and you're right into the movement right away. So you're not split stepping, waiting, and then making contact. It's like literally one fluid movement, right?
Exactly. That's where people go wrong, is they split step too early, and then they're not explosive on the next ball.
I am now picturing myself in a lot of moments where that has happened. So that's something I need to definitely drill on too. And speaking of drilling, what are some of the key drills that you do to stay so defensive minded? Are you doing just the standard ones, like, simple as mid court, just survive, hit thirds consistently?
Mm-hmm.
What are some unique ones that you do that you think separates yourself?
So I'll do 2 versus 2 or 1 versus 1, and I'll be at the baseline and I'll throw up like a high ball or a mid ball where they can attack pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm working my way into the kitchen with my partner, and you have to read your partner's ball, whether to come in or not. I think that's a very big skill that's very underrated. If you can read your partner hit a good ball, especially if they're not saying, oh, good or hi, you know what I mean, if they're not communicating with you. I do a lot of drills like that so that you can practice working your way back up. So 2 versus 2 and 1 versus 1, where a lot
So
of people just do
2v2,
1 versus 1.
and with the 2v2, are you just both trying to get to the kitchen, or what's your goal? Are you both staying back for the specific drill?
We're both trying to like make a good ball that's not as attackable. So for example, I'll even say up and I'll throw up a high sky ball. So they have to hit a high overhead, or I'll drive it. Okay. And then the next ball, I'm going to drop to the kitchen. But it's like you're just constantly communicating with your partner on what you're doing, or you're having to read their ball if it's good or not.
Yeah. How often are you incorporating that high ball in a match and just, I guess, a lob from the baseline? That's something that I never really do, and I feel like I need to take advantage of more. My brain is like, all right, let's go for the perfect third, because that's all I drill is hitting that perfect third. But there's such an advantage to just hitting that lob where your opponent can make a mistake. It gives you time to work back in. And it's also easier than hitting a perfect third, right? Or, a perfect drop, so to speak. So I feel like there's less less risk in that shot. I feel like you throw that out there pretty often.
Yeah, I think it's since the ball and the paddles, everything has more power. Ball's hard,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't keep the ball in front of you, like it gets a little behind you, you've got to throw it up, because if it gets behind you and you try to just do this third shot drop, it's going to elevate and be in like their zone where they can really put it away. Angles, does that make sense? Like mid height
Well, I was going to
balls are
say,
like
so
so bad.
I'm just trying to think of the easy way to think about it for myself and people listening. So balls in front of you, you're going for a drop or a drive. And if it's getting behind you and you feel like you're off balance and out of control, that's when you're popping up. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's just more of like knowing the baseline is usually a drive or a high ball until you get a softer ball you can drop. Does that make sense? It is very
Makes total
hard to
sense.
drop. It's hard to drop a hard driven
It's
ball.
so hard. It's so
Yeah,
hard. It feels like you're just like short hopping it or just kind of getting lucky a little bit and you don't have any control on that pacing.
Yeah, I feel like every time I do that, I give them a mid height ball that they can just well on and the ball's gone.
Yeah, that's
Because they
true.
can get angles. They can get angles with it.
Because if it's any bit short, they can just go, they can drop shot, they can, like you said, angles really easy. And do you have a target in mind when you're hitting that high ball? Are you just trying to get as deep as possible over somebody's backhand shoulder? I feel like just depth and height is the most important thing, right?
Yeah, especially if you want to give yourself a little bit more room for error. So I'm usually I'm not aiming for a corner. I'm aiming between like middle of the left side box to the middle of the right side box, that kind of range. So it's just
Yeah.
more middle of the court. So I have more room for error, and you can jack it up high, and they're not going to have as many angles. So the next ball, to say like they do an overhead, the next ball I can drive right back at them as they're coming in after they just hit it.
And then from a form perspective, what are you doing to jack that ball up? I know it's kind of a basic question, but is there anything specifically that you're doing? Like, are you adding any wrist? Is this all shoulder base? Is this all coming like from your butt and your core? Like when you're hitting that ball up in the air?
Yeah, I mean legs for sure on every shot.
Yeah.
But you have to finish well so that you get topspin. You got to have topspin on that ball, because I feel like if you just do a sky ball that doesn't have any spin, sometimes the wind will catch it and take it, versus like you're doing a sky ball with topspin, or you finish here. Okay, you can, as long as you finish on either ear, that's all that matters. So
taking it
then
all the
the
way up above
ball's
your head.
dropping. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I see you do that. You whip it up, and that's where that topspin's coming from. I feel like that's such a good defensive cheat code that not enough people do, and that's what also makes the points so fun to watch. And that's what makes you the Mighty Mouse out there, is getting those long-lasting rallies and where things get crazy. I love it. Do you have different strategies when you're doing gender doubles versus mixed doubles, for example, when you're hitting that shot? Because, for example, it might be a little more intimidating hitting that to somebody huge like Dekel Bar, who could have that height and rip it, versus people that aren't necessarily as big. Is your strategy different between who you're playing when you hit that shot, or no? Is it just you treat it the same?
See, I actually treat it the same, because a sky ball still for a guy, like, and some guys on the tour do not have an overhead. To be honest, like
mean. That's how I would be if I was on. I'm not. If it goes to my backhand side, I'm going to start crying. But my forehand side, I'm just pancaking it. So yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
True.
Like, it's. Yeah. I mean, I can say some names, but I'm just like, I love playing against this person.
So this is a free space. You can say names if you want. This isn't going anywhere. This is just me.
Well, yeah. Like, if you give a overhead to Riley Newman, a high ball, that's great. You know what I mean?
I have the same grip as Riley Newman, so that's why. It's hard when you have that grip. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to everything, right? Anyways, but like, but I would rather give him a sky ball, or even some other players, versus a mid-height ball, but they can get a hold of and whip and angle, versus a sky ball that like they have to hit down, and then I can drive the next one. So
yeah, because the ball slows down so much too off that bounce anyway, especially when it's so high. I mean, you get so much time to recover.
Yeah, I mean, I was even watching the final with CJ Klinger and JW and Ben and Gabe yesterday, and CJ Klinger's overheads, he's hitting the ball straight down, but if you gave him anything mid, he was getting rid of it fast, like putting it away. So like, there's just, most people are hitting overheads down and not angled. So the next ball, you can drive the next one.
All right. Well, while we're on the topic of mixed strategies versus gender doubles, you're traditionally on the right side. Are you on the right side for both gendered and mixed doubles?
Yeah, I mean, gender, I'm starting to mix it up more. It just depends on who I'm playing with. Just like in the past 6 months, I've been playing with more dominant left side women. But for mixed doubles, I prefer the right. I like having a guy's big forehand in the middle.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. What has helped lead you to become such a strong right side player? Like, what's your role? Let's focus specifically in mixed for this question. What are your key focuses on the right side? What's your court coverage percentage? I would love to get into some of the strategies there about what makes you so good on the right.
Yeah, for sure. It would be being able to drop cross to the girl. So making that guy really lean. That's one of my big strengths, is dropping to the girl. I love that drop cross. And then being able to hit your fifth to the girl as well. Yep. Versus going up. Some girls like to go up the line and just kind of short hop. I'm cross, cross, cross. That's a big advantage. I think I'm seeing
more of that lately, is that fifth shot, that mid-court drop going cross-court, and how much more effective it is because you have more court to work with, the net's lower as you're going across. And I've just seen a little bit more high percentage play. And also it's going to get in between both players, so it's going to cause some more chaos. Whereas if you're going up the line, like you said, that's where, the guy can earn you or whatever it might be. But I think it's because people they drill often straight ahead versus drilling cross court on those fifth shots. So that's what I see a lot, at least.
Yes. And you're right. It's literally like being able to get to the kitchen without the guy, because the guys always want to be the biggest on fourths. So the return, third, and then their shot, that they're trying to keep you back. And if a guy gets a hold of a ball with his forehand, I mean, it's tough to be able to get in. After that, you're going to be battling maybe a 7th, 9th, 11th. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's better if you can be able to keep that ball low so that he starts to go shifting middle, but then sees it's dropping. Then it's like, oh, he's got to let the girl have it. And so then you get an easy fifth.
Makes sense.
Yeah, 5th, 7th, anyways.
Yeah, so on and so forth. And then when you're on the right with a guy, what are some of your go-to strategies when you're at the kitchen? Are you trying to keep it very linear and just go cross court, like a lot of girls do on the right, or even guys on the left going cross court to the other backhand? Or are you mixing it up? As I feel like you do a good job of this, of keeping the guy honest and going down the line too. And, you're still attacking a lot. You're known as the defensive player, but you still do have a lot of offense. So what are some of those key strategies that you have to be successful on the right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have a top spin. Yes and no. It just has to have spin. Like you can slice too and keep it down. The problem is with the slice is I'm not showing the guy that I'm going behind him. Does that make sense? Because
Yes,
it's always cross. Whereas like a top spin, you can go here, you can
because
go
you're going low to
with
high, right?
Yes.
I was going to say, because when you get that paddle position down on the right, that's when you don't know if you're going to roll, cross court, or speed up. Because if you're chopping, that paddle face is coming horizontally or high to low, where, like you said, it just gets rid of any sort of deception and it makes it way more comfortable for them.
Yes, agreed. It is good. So it's good to have both if you're keeping your dinks down. Because like a Tina Pisnik, for example, she does a good job of slicing and keeping it low and unattackable.
She slices so hard, it seems like.
Yes, she does. And so like it makes it so it's low and unattackable to the girl. But then, however, she has been starting to mix in her top spin, but it's the key is though to like show the guy like I can go behind, so you can't pinch so hard. So then, like if you elevate a dink cross a little bit, he can't reach as much because you've already gone behind him. So he's like, I can't move too early. That makes sense.
Got to keep him honest. No, makes total sense.
Yeah.
And then another question I had was, in terms of court coverage percentage, what would you define as the court coverage percentage that you're doing? Maybe it's different than other partnerships, or maybe it's the exact same for mixed. And then also, are you playing off the line or on the line? And what is your strategy and thought process behind that during a rally? Because I feel like there's different moments where you want to be on and then other times where you want to sag. So I'm curious on your thoughts between the two there.
Yeah, so it depends on, first of all, I'm smaller. So like I'm going to let the guy reach in and do more with his forehand. So I'm going to play a little bit off the line so that I can roll more and let him step over and reach in. Because if you're tight on the line, the guy can't step in.
Exactly.
Right. However, there's players like Tyra Black that's her game. She's tight on the line and she just keeps the dinks down, and maybe she's short hopping, but the guy can't step over as much. But she's leaning in to poke, if that makes sense.
It does.
So it's so it depends on your strengths and weaknesses based off of your size. So for me, I like to be off the line so I can roll and let my guys step in and be big.
And do you feel like there's a risk reward of being off the line? Because sometimes even when I coach, I tell a lot of people that you need to stay on the line, because if anything comes up high, right, you're going to be there closer and being able to reach, whether you want to roll that shot or be able to get a put away. Do you feel like you're ever missing any opportunities being off the line for some ball that comes to you straight on because of that?
I do. That's the only downfall about it. Like if your guy doesn't lean in and then you're just like, crap, we just got what we wanted, but you didn't lean in. Yeah. So like I look to lean though. If I've pushed the girl off the line, then I look to lean and I can shift over if the guy wants to take it easily. But that's when I look to lean, is mainly when I've pushed her.
And no, that makes a lot of sense in terms of balancing that out there. For you, what is besides having a big forehand in the middle and somebody that's got good reach to complement your size, what else are you looking for in an ideal partner? Maybe it's somebody who's playing really hot and really aggressive, or somebody that's playing very consistent and grinding out points. What is that style that complements you best to, be as successful as possible?
Are we talking about mixed still?
I want to get your answer on both, actually.
Okay. So for mixed, I'm looking for a partner who's big on fourths. I need someone when I'm coming in who's big in that area and long, since I'm smaller, because I think giving up free points on force is a problem.
Yes.
So I'm looking for that in mixed, and someone who has a big forehand in the middle so I can sit on my backhand.
How much court coverage are you giving them when you're working in? So you hit the serve return, they hit their third. Are you letting them cover like 80% of the court? Because I see that a lot of times in mixed, where that fourth shot, you want to give the guy a lot more room versus sometimes they're just covering half the court. And then you kind of get back to more of a neutral.
I'd say 70-30. That's
Gotcha.
how it should be. Because if I'm returning and coming in.
Yeah.
I don't think if they're coming in, I'm different. Like I like to be aggressive at the net. Some of my partners that I've played with, though, they don't like that. But I'm like, but then other partners do. So I get confused. I'm like, whatever. Guys and their egos, whatever. It's so fun to deal with. No. But so that's kind of the biggest thing. If they're coming in, I like to be a little bit more aggressive and not be 70-30. But if I'm coming in, I want them to be 70-30 so that then the guy doesn't have as much room to drive hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If a girl drives, it'd be great.
What about when you're unwinding the stack? I have a problem with this a lot too. For if you're not getting a really good serve return, you're not getting a lot of depth, and maybe you're playing with a lifetime ball and the ball's flying around.
Yes.
Do you feel like you always have time to recover? Like, are you fast enough? I mean, everybody's different. Sometimes I'm not fast enough, and then how are you? Like, where do you want to return to be as successful as possible? Are you going straight on, cross court? Just kind of curious on the dynamics there for stacking in particular.
Yeah, so it's hard because everyone's like, always return line. But if you've got a guy who's serving big and you're returning line, your air ratio goes up, right? Because if you hit the ball a little bit behind you, it's going to go wide. So I'm actually aiming for the girl's inside foot or more middle. So then my guy can be big in the middle. Yeah. And my air ratio on my returns is going to go down. I mean, I'd love to hit a perfect ball to the girl every time, but with how much power and spin these paddles have nowadays, it's hard when they hit these gnarly serves.
So going middle then, just to make sure, just for margin of error purposes, but if you have time to work with, in theory, you're going line?
Yes. I mean,
and what's the strategy behind that?
I mean, the reason why is because most of the time the guys have gnarlier drives than the girls. Mm-hmm. Like I'd rather have a girl drive at me than a guy. But the only difference is, and I'll be honest, I'm still debating about this because it depends on the guy. Because if I return cross, high loopy cross, my guy has time to pinch line, right? Mm-hmm. And I have more time because I just went cross to get up into the net. So it really depends on
when you're saying cross, do you mean all the way to their backhand, essentially? Like deep cross?
Yes. Then gotcha. I have more time, and my guy then can pinch more middle. So me and actually Kelly Jo Smith talk about this all the time with mixed, because our guys always just want us to return line, and our air ratio goes up if the guy is serving. But if we go cross, it's so much easier to work with so much court. And then we feel like our guy can do more, but they just don't want as many balls going to the guy when we're switching. That's the problem. So it's really about, like, if you test it out, it depends on who you're playing against. Like, I'm not.
I was about to say, it has because like somebody's backhand drive could be insane and somebody's backhand drive could be mid. So it's like that changes everything, I feel like.
Exactly. Like, why would you want to give Connor Garnett a backhand drive? You know what I mean?
Just go middle. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's really tailored to who your opponent is.
That makes sense. And then another question too is, we were talking about drilling earlier, and you play a lot of, I see you're posting a lot of videos with even other carbon athletes. Shout out Liam Duffin, and you're getting a lot of games in over in the Utah area. There's so much talent in Utah, which is crazy. So what is when you're preparing for a tournament, getting ready, or just in general, how much rec time are you spending playing rec games versus how much time are you actually drilling?
So, good example is like this morning, I did 45 minutes of drilling singles and then straight into drilling gender doubles, 2 versus 2. So that was a total of 2 hours and 45 minutes. So 2 hours of dubs, 45 minutes of singles.
I didn't know you're drilling singles these days. How often are you doing singles training?
Yeah, finally I'm feeling better. I hurt myself in Milwaukee after I beat Liz Trueluck. I went and played Paris, and we were playing on those Rolex courts. And I hurt my hip. So since October, I haven't been able to, my hip's been gnarly. And it was, every time I drill singles, it would hurt for doubles. So I had to lay off singles, and felt really good this past week. Atlanta starting it back. So I've been drilling it for about a month. But it's a good cardio workout too.
It kicks your ass. It's insane. Yeah. It's exhausting. I drill for this is why I don't even practice singles anymore, just because I get so beat down from it, even though it's fun, but I also don't have a good backhand drive. So that's the other reason. But
you just need to drill it, Brody.
I know. Do you have drills that you're working on for singles in particular? Are you doing give me some, because we've been talking about any drilling conversations that we've had on this pod have been doubles related. So if you want to bring some insight into singles drilling, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So you choose your skill that you're working on, and you can either do, when I'm working with my coach, I do less play reps and more just reps. If I'm drilling one-on-one with someone, obviously I'm not going to have them just sit and toss me balls, right? So let's do one-on-one. So for example, this morning, we were working on our approach shot and then volleys at the net. Mm-hmm. So my partner we're playing 7-11. And so it's easier for the person at the net to score. So I needed to get to 7 before they got to 11. So he would feed me an approach shot. And I would go, they knew where it was going.
Yep.
So it makes it so it's a little bit easier on the first ball. So for example, I'm hitting my backhand down the line, which is to their forehand, right? If I'm playing with a righty. And then we play out the point. So it's just limiting, whatever you're working on, this is the shot, the first shot you're getting, and then you play it out.
That makes sense.
But just limiting the shots so you get more reps of that shot. Instead of doing serve, return, do a few ground strokes, and then someone gets an approach shot, then they're coming in, right? I just took away a bunch of shots because I was specifically working on my approach shot to my split step to the next volley.
That's a cheat code in itself right there. I love that because typically it's just like you said, we'll go into that process, serve, return. I mean, which is one of the most important things in singles, obviously, but still focusing on and breaking down layers beyond that in singles is so important. And that's where I'm getting beat. I have a good serve and decent serve return, but then after that, that's not the area that I'm working on anymore. That's where I stop, and it shows in my game. So that's key. Just breaking down other elements of the game and then stripping them down and focusing on it that way is really smart. Yeah. For singles and doubles, do you have a different paddle that you're using? Because I know a lot of players will switch between different paddle shapes. I feel like you've used quite a different amount of paddle shapes in doubles, even itself in doubles. What are your thought processes there? And for context, for people listening, the carbon has 3 primary shapes, 1 being the fully elongated, 2 being the square shape, and then 3 being a hybrid of the 2. So just noting that. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts there.
Are you talking about the 3 as the hybrid as in the True Foam 4? I'm confused. Or you're talking about the...
Well, that's a future sneak peek that we can, I guess, poke on now. The 4 is, that's going to be that true hybrid that hopefully we'll be able to have some exciting announcements on in the near future here. But the 3 is the non-traditional hybrid where it's the longer paddle face, right? Mm-hmm. And you still have, so it's like the 1, but a bigger face, right?
Yes, agreed. So, I mean, I've hit,
unless you're using the 4 now only, but that's, feel free to touch on that. That's still...
Yeah, I was I've realized that for the 1 or 3, but now I'm using the 4.
Okay.
For singles, I know, who was it? James Ignatowicz posted the square paddle's the only going to be the way to go. And it's if you look at Ben has never used a square paddle. Mm-hmm. He's always used an elongated paddle. Simone, always an elongated paddle. Yeah. Allyce is like a hybrid, kind of like the 4.
Exactly.
And besides Anna Bright and Colin Johns, specifically, everyone else is kind of mixed around. The Anna Bright and Colin have used the square. I've messed around with it, but I'm realizing with my size, I like a little bit of more of the elongated.
Yeah, and get more of that reach.
Yeah, so I like the 1, but now I've been using the 4 because it's got both this bigger sweet spot and still elongated.
Yeah.
But that's coming. for
That's
carbon.
coming. That's in the pipeline.
Yes.
And then, yeah, because a lot of our athletes are shifting towards that two shape too, just because of the defensive level of it, because you get such good feedback and it's like a shield almost. So it's really good for blocking. But like you said, having those elongated paddle shapes where carbon or not, it's nice to have. I feel like you get a little more power and a little more reach. So it just kind of depends on your play style and what you're looking for.
Yeah, and you get more whip on your drives.
I
feel like the square ones, they're going to be a little bit more loopy.
I've noticed that for me as well. And then same with even rolls at the kitchen. It's harder to get like that flick roll with the square, whereas the elongated, it kind of rotates around for you, especially the four shape.
Yep.
But yeah,
so it's such a good paddle.
we might have to delete this from the episode, so we'll have to consult with the higher powers of carbon. But yeah, okay. This has been awesome, Allyce, and I wanted to transition kind of to wrap things up here. I would love to talk about your family here and your pickleball background a little bit more. Maybe we could have led with this, but I think it's a good place to bookend our podcast here. So tell me about your daughter, Leah, in particular, because I know I mentioned that you're a mother of three, but Leah, your daughter, is a pickleball beast. And you noted in a previous article that you wanted to play a future tournament with her. So would love to hear about your family dynamics of pickleball, her coming into the sport, and what that all looks like, because it sounds really exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited with how well she has been developing. She's working really hard. She plays pretty much every day, besides Sundays.
How old is she, by the way?
She's 12.
And what level is she playing at? Like 5-0 for tradition, like any age 5-0 pretty much? Or is it 5-0 juniors?
It's hard because like the duper doesn't reflect the tournaments, you know what I mean, yet. But like she just took bronze at 5-0 PPA at Red Rock.
That's amazing.
Her and her partner. And the juniors is really good. And
it's insane. One of my previous partners, shout out Indy, he played Masters Pro. He's a beast. And the draws that they're getting in there, and he triple crowned at US Open, so that was awesome to see. But anyways, I know the talent level, like these junior players are insane. So
excuse me, I'm sorry. The reason why they're insane is because they're using techniques that pros do.
Yes.
Versus like an amateur 4-5-5-0 that is an adult and had never learned like top spin 2E rolling, you know what I mean? Where all these kids are coming into the game doing that automatically.
It's crazy.
And spinning every ball versus just pushing and getting to the kitchen and just having good hands. So that's why I'm a big pro for juniors versus just playing 5-0 or 4-5 adults that don't have technique.
Yeah. So no, it's really cool to see that. And you're part of the coaching of that next generation, right?
Yeah, so I'm part of a program called Pay It Forth. It's my give back to pickleball. It helps that part of the reason that my daughter's in the program. And so I'm fine to give my free time to my daughter and her other friends that are on the team as well. So there's 4 boys and 2 girls, and we travel around the country for junior PPAs, and we will be doing an international one as well.
That's sweet. So, where at? Do you know internationally where you'll be ending up? Any idea?
Right now we're looking at Vietnam or China or Japan. Yeah.
The growth over there has been insane in Vietnam and every Southeast Asia I've seen is just wild. Our owners just did a visit around Asia, and it just seems incredible. So excited to see where the sport goes there, and for future Olympics, we gotta watch out. They're going to be killing it.
Yes, exactly.
And the last thing I wanted to say was, so you just mentioned to like the skill set that the kids have now. Where do you, because this is all new. This is such a new sport. Where do you see the future of pickleball going 10 years from now when Leah's 22, or even 8 years from now when she's 20? Like, I feel like the talent level that's going to come in, we're going to look back and almost laugh at the players today in a way. Yes. It's like when you get NBA now versus what you saw in the 1940s, it's a complete joke. I feel like something similar is going to be happening here. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. So here's my theory. once again, it's just my theory. This is why Annalie Waters is so freaking good, because she came into the game at a young age with a powerful paddle, learning how to control it and hit with spin. Where like someone like me, I started with a Yola first gen that was just like soft. So like getting to the kitchen was easy, but I didn't have to like hit with a ton of spin. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So because if you don't hit with spin with a powerful paddle, the ball elevates and it's just like push, they slap, right? So it's harder to get to the kitchen. So like now, the past 2 years, I have a more powerful paddle, especially with the Power Series with carbon and now the True Foam. And so I have to hit like this technique with spin and finishing, where like I look back at myself when in 2021, when I was playing pro, I'm like, I'm not even finishing. Like I'm just like getting the ball right, like finishing with my paddle just right here. So Annalie has been hitting these gnarly spin shots from a very, very young age. And as she's gotten better at it, now everything is more consistent. So like a good example is my daughter right now. She will hit the gnarliest spin shot. She's very similar technique to AL.
Because a lot of AL shots it's that loopy form, right? She comes around the ball and loops through it. It's crazy. So
exactly.
It almost, because I always like to teach too much movement. You know, I like to strip away movements from my students, like adding too much movement. But the way she does it is, it's like picturesque. It's perfect. So I feel like there is a way of blending the two, where you're not adding too much movement to a shot, because that's where errors can come in for a lot of players.
Yes.
Especially learning the game early on. But I feel like that the way you round about it is just, that's where so much of that topspin comes in. It's incredible.
Exactly. And do you ever see Annalie hitting a slice?
Never. That's where tennis players have to convert over. That's the one flaw of a tennis player, I feel like, or the biggest gap that they have to overcome. I was playing with Donald Young a month or two back, and he had a ball that was a pop-up, and his natural instinct still was to chop it out of the air. And I was like, he even laughed at himself right away. It's like, no, you need to wrap everything over just because of the margins of the court. And yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, and that's Annalie's game, because you see Ben. Ben will do slice and he'll keep his ball down, but he's also incorporating now a backhand 2E roll dink. I watched him and JW in the final yesterday. Like they're incorporating it. So like I think that the generation. So go back to the question. The generation of pickleball in 10 years is going to be way higher level and way more spin and aggressive shots, because they've started it at a young age, versus pros like us who are 37 years old for me, Leah Jansen, who's almost 30 or something like that, or Kelly Jo Smith, who's 34, or even 29, 28-year-olds that are now putting that shot into their game. And we're, 10 years ahead older, than these other players. Then that's why, I mean, Hayden Patrickman, another example. Gabe, another example. So, the game's just going to get even a higher level the next generation of pros, because they started to see it spin early.
And just like almost no chopping, even at the kitchen, right? Do you think there's gonna be way less dinks that are chopped too?
I think so with the kids, because I'm seeing everyone do a 2E.
Yeah, like they're just rolling. It's just roll to roll to roll to roll, right? Cross court.
Yes, it's very interesting. Just this past weekend, I'm like, I don't see much slicing. I only see slicing if they're like in trouble. You know what I mean? So
interesting. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for us here, Allyce. I really appreciate your time here and you shedding light on your defense, what makes you the Mighty Mouse, the future generation of pickleball. It's been incredible talking with you. It's always nice chatting with you. But yeah, this has been fun.
Thanks, Brody. It's always great chatting with you too.
Stop. All right. See you, Allyce. Good. Bye, everyone.
See ya. Bye.